Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm making a few cards using the contents of the Simon Says Stamp September 2018 card kit, which features the Beautiful Mermaids stamp set that I'll be using. So the only contents that I end up using from this kit is the stamped images, and I only stamp out the mermaids, and that's what I end up using. So I'm taking some Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I'm taking one of the images, and I'm going to stamp her out using Versafine Onyx black ink. And then I do set that with some black embossing powder. And my intent is to use some watercolor since it's been a little bit since I've played with those, and I love to watercolor. It's one of my favorite mediums to use, and I don't use it enough. So I'm using the Jane Davenport watercolors, and I've left the coloring in case you're interested, but basically what I'm doing is on a brush, I'm adding just a tiny bit of water. You can hardly even tell there's water. And then I go in and add my color. And because it is Bristol Smooth cardstock, not watercolor, I'm very carefully just adding just a tiny bit of the water and the color, since I don't want the paper to start peeling. So I'm starting to with her skin, and I use like a beige color. I'll have all the colors that I've used listed on my blog post, which I'll link to down below. But basically I'm just adding a little bit of color as my base, and then I go in, either I take a little bit of color away or I add a darker shade just to give it a little bit of dimension. So then I'm coloring her tail, and again I'm using, I believe for this one I do go ahead and use two different shades, but I'm not really happy with the shade that I chose, although it looks fine. It just seems like they were from a different color family, even though they're both purple. One is more of a warm tone and the other one is more of a cool tone, and that bothers me. I'm sure nobody else is noticing it, but I am. And I think this is where it's really pronounced that I'm using two different tones of color when I colored up the star and the tail. And then once a section is dry, if I feel like I need a little more shading, I'll go back over it just to give it a little more depth. And then I choose to color this mermaid's hair like a chestnut brown it would be. And I am just using one color for the hair, and then like I said, I would either just use a clean water brush to take some color off to give it a little bit of dimension, or I would add a second layer once a section is dry. So originally I only wanted to make a couple of cards, and my intent was to use the 2 images of these 2 mermaids. But when I started playing around with the watercolors, there was 2 colors in particular that made me want to color up a 3rd image, and I think I show you a close-up of those. One is called Sea Mist, and the other is called Ariel. And yep, I was going to color one up as the Little Mermaid. I kind of tried hard not to. I didn't want to color one up like the Little Mermaid, but it was just not going to happen once I saw these 2 colors. So I color up a 3rd mermaid, and I am going to color her exactly like the Little Mermaid, with that red hair and that bright green tail. And this is kind of brings me back to my childhood, because originally Little Mermaid came out in, I don't remember when it came out. I know I was a child, and I know I've spent many birthdays wishing for those sea legs, because I wanted to be like Ariel. I think we all wanted to be like Ariel. And then they re-released the movie when my daughter was like 3 or 4, which was about 5 years ago. And so we both kind of got to enjoy The Little Mermaid again, which is something so special to me when you can share something from your childhood with your children. That's just me. But now I saw that there is a live action movie of The Little Mermaid, and apparently came out last month sometime. So I'm definitely going to be checking that out to see where it's playing. I think it'll be something really fun for myself and my daughter to do. Anyhow, while I finished coloring this image, I did color the 3rd one, and I did that off screen since I'm basically doing the same thing, just different colors. Once I let them dry, I just let them dry naturally. I don't take a heat tool to them, because I find that my paper starts to kind of curl. So once they are completely dry, I fussy cut all of the 3 images, and then to sort of finish off the edges, I go around the entire image with a memento black marker, just so I can hide some of the imperfections that can be left by fussy cutting. Oh, I love that green. That is absolutely one of my favorite shades. To create the backgrounds for the mermaids, I decided to keep it relatively simple, and I decided to pull out some of the Bow Bunny glitter paste and a few stencils to create that background. I've got a couple of different colors of cardstock and several white cardstock. So I'm taking a stencil. This one is by Hero Arts, and I'm taking some of that glitter paste. And that is, it's not too thick, but there is a substance to it. So once I have my cardstock in place and I have the stencil taped over, I can go ahead and spread my glitter paste with a spatula. And then once I have that layer, and it's a pretty thin layer, I'm not adding too thick of a layer to my cardstock. Once I have that done, I can kind of pop up the stencil and place another cardstock underneath. So this time I decided to use a teal cardstock, and this cardstock is from Simon Says Stamp. I don't know the exact name of it, but if I figure it out, I'll list it down below. So I just kind of decided to keep playing with this product, and I created a lot more backgrounds than what I needed. But I do change out the stencils, and I use different stencils and different color glitter paste. This particular one is called Blush, and what I learned from the first set of backgrounds that I made was I have to move a little bit faster because some of that glitter paste started drying on my stencil and I had a tough time getting it off. And then I create a couple of more backgrounds, I think. Yeah, I'm moving definitely faster in this set of cards. And I bring in this Nuvo one, and this one is called Amethyst Purple, and I use this like a fine type of a stencil. I will try to leave a link of all the products that I use down below if I know where they are. If I can link them somewhere, I will. And I love this purple. Purple is not just my favorite color, but this particular purple is absolutely stunning. And then I paired this background with the Little Mermaid. So this one's for me. I'm not going to give this card to anybody. It's mine to keep. So here's a couple of, or some of the backgrounds that I made using different stencils and different color backgrounds. And I love this one with the teal card, the teal cardstock with the teal or the turquoise glitter paste. So I kind of match things up how I think I want them. And basically the focus of these cards was just the watercoloring of the mermaids and the glitter paste and the stencil backgrounds. So I kind of figure out who's going to go where, and then I've cut some other color cardstock just to kind of tie it all together, and I'm taking a piece of black cardstock and I'm adding that to a white card base. And I can add that in place and trim off a little bit on the side there. And that little peak of black just goes so well with that teal colored cardstock. And then I'm using some really strong double-sided adhesive, and I'm really adding it on there to make sure that my panel stays straight and it doesn't start curling up, because that paste is a little bit heavy. So I just want to make sure that it stays straight and on the card base. And then my images and my sentiment, which I stamped on a piece of black cardstock and I've white heat embossed it. I've added some foam tape to the back of those, and then I just pop those into place, and basically all that the card is a sentiment and the mermaid and that beautiful background. Once I have that in place, I work on the rest of the cards. I think I work on those off screen just to save a little bit of time. These more than one card videos tend to get a little bit lengthy, and I like my videos like at a 10-minute mark. Here are a couple of close-ups of the cards I made using this month's kit. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you commenting, subscribing, and liking my videos. If you're new here, please consider hitting that subscribe button, and I'll catch you on the next one.